guys, welcome back. 4 episodes in a month.
Oh yeah,
We've done it. It's been a while since we've done this.
Never do more than 2 in 1 month after this.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little. I'm feeling a little
Generous.
burnt out. Burnt out. I don't know how, but I am. Here we are today to talk about actor and director collaborations. We kind of like mid episode, it hit us both like, why haven't we done that yet?
I think we've thought about doing it.
Yeah, probably.
And just never expounded upon it. But by all means, we talked about Scorsese enough last time.
It's like we might as well just get it out.
Might as well get it out of the way. Yep.
But it is one of those things that it's very noticeable when a director has like a favorite actor,
Mm-hmm.
and yet for some reason, I love it every time. I know the reason.
Why?
But, well, you just have like a sense of familiarity, right? Like you're seeing your two uncles like working together. You know, it's like seeing your dad. Yeah, it's like seeing your dad and your uncle just work, or you know, like your cousin and your other cousin. I don't know.
Do you like that because sometimes there's such a long-standing relationship between people? Or do you just like it because you know they're going to, get what they're both trying to get across?
I think it's more so the second. Just because
There's almost like a telepathy between them.
Yeah, that, and there's also something about just being comfortable with this person to where I can just put it all on the table, right? Like I can just go all out. I'm not going to get like made fun of, or like I understand that I can be vulnerable, right? Doing this role. And for most people who try and be actors, that is very hard to do.
Which is probably why they like collaborations like that.
Yeah, exactly. You get that sense of emotional connectivity, I guess. That kind of bleeds out on when you're watching, at least. It like bleeds out and you feel it. And I don't know. Well, at least with like, like you'll have your Fincher, Edward Norton thing where it's like, oh, this is the best Edward Norton's ever been, other than, The Incredible Hulk.
Not where most people probably go when they think of
But you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
You catch a blue moon every once in a while, but I feel like there's something more where it's like we can keep going and pushing, and I can write or direct like scenes a certain way because I know that you can take care of it.
That's like Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah.
Being like, every new movie idea is just, how can I torture Daniel Day-Lewis? How can I make him do the most insane thing he's never done before? For me, I like collaborations when I feel like there is a shared understanding about whatever. If the actor gets the director's vision, mostly I feel, is where they come across. I notice that usually when you see actor and director collaborations, it's usually with people who make the same kind of movie fairly frequently. I feel like there's not, and there's something consistent because there are people like Wes Anderson who work with very large ensemble casts of basically the exact same people every time, but there's still
feel like it.
His films are all kind of samey in that in his own way, even when they're all unique stories. But when an actor really gets and understands what a director is trying to come across, I feel like that's when collaborations work perfectly. And the first one that came to my mind was Steve McQueen and Michael Fassbender, because Steve McQueen does not make
He doesn't make a movie without Michael Fassbender, right?
He hasn't made one without him, but he doesn't exactly make popcorn movies.
Right.
These are more... Steve McQueen comes from literally the world of art and installation art, not so much cinema, and so he has a far more artistic and abstract approach to filmmaking. And
what's the one with the car where he's in the car the whole movie? That's Steve McQueen, right?
So that is not a Steve McQueen movie, but
whoops.
that was Steve Knight.
Oh, but it
Yes.
has Michael Fassbender.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, maybe that's why I was getting
Um,
confused.
No, that's Tom Hardy.
Jesus, I'm all over the place.
All these British
Oh
people
man,
get
they all
so
look
confused.
the same to me.
Yeah. No, Locke was
Fassbender's not even
Stephen
British.
Knight, and that's right, he's not. he plays an Irish person in Hunger as
In
well.
that movie.
Yeah, but nevertheless, Locke is also a good movie too, and Stephen Knight's a good director. But with Steve McQueen, I appreciate his collaboration with Michael Fassbender because I feel like Fassbender does a really good job of kind of embodying in movies like Hunger and Shame. It's the fact that those characters are so emotionally deprived that you want an actor who can push yourself there. And I feel like from a director's point of view, once you find somebody who can do that, you're like, all right, you're my guy now. You know,
We're gonna do it till the end of time.
we're gonna do it till the end of time. He plays a supporting role in 12 Years a Slave, but I mean,
It's like one of the most iconic supporting roles
one of the best.
for the last decade.
Yeah, he does a little bit better than Benedict Cumberbatch, in my opinion, in that movie. But nevertheless, that was one of the first ones that came to mind where it feels like here's a director with an incredibly specific vision, and here is an actor who it feels like just gets it and slots right into what he's looking for. They've only made 3 movies, I believe. So it's not exactly a long-standing relationship, but I mean, those are 3 fantastic films. If you've never seen them, I would highly recommend them, for sure. That was the first one I thought of, other than Martin Scorsese, however. But
And then there's the flip side where it's, hey, I just like hanging out with you.
yeah,
Can we just make movies? Just put me in any role possible.
pretty much.
A la
Yeah.
Michael Caine, Christopher Nolan. A la Quentin Tarantino and Samuel L. Jackson.
I also think of Bill Murray and Wes Anderson,
Yeah.
where it's like he doesn't have a cell phone, but he's always in contact with Wes Anderson somehow. It's like he just likes working with him for some way, somehow. But I guess if you want to talk about Scorsese right away, we probably should.
Should we?
Should we? I think we should. Since we might have the most to say about it, take up the most time.
I mean, what is there to say that we haven't already said, or at least that I haven't already said? You know, one of the greatest American filmmakers of all time has 2 of the most iconic partnerships with De Niro and DiCaprio, which is funny because they're now gonna both be in his next movie, The Killers of the Flower Moon, which is hype.
Did we answer the question last time of what was their best movie with each of them? So,
With-
like, Scorsese and DiCaprio, what do you believe is the film that best exudes their partnership?
Probably The Departed.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think.
And why do you think that?
At least, well, okay, so it's The Departed or it's The Wolf of Wall Street.
I was going to
And
say Wolf of Wall Street.
I hesitate to say Wolf of Wall Street just because everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, of course you would say that." Blah, blah, blah. But I don't know, man. There's something in that role where he in The Departed where you're just like, "This dude is not okay."
Yeah.
They must have had an actual counselor on set to help out Leo because he just goes to the like 11th degree.
Yeah, that's
with
fair.
that movie where he's just constantly just
Abused.
he's fidgeting or he's like something's happening with him, and you can tell it's all internal because that's just the level of
Commitment.
that that Leo likes to go to. And I mean that's Scorsese just being like, yo, this kid, I can do anything to him, and he'll just be like, more.
Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah.
So that I think that's why I lean, at least in terms of like their collaboration. Obviously, I think Wolf of Wall Street's the better movie just overall, but a lot of that is because the Jonah Hill character, the Kyle Chandler character, the plot of the Scorsese outline,
yeah.
if you will,
The plot.
the formula,
The
of,
editing.
yeah. Where it's like that's my favorite thing about that movie, where everybody was like, there's so many continuity errors, and Scorsese was like, yeah, they're all high, so I just we just decided to make it look like it was like that. I was like, No. It sounds like your script supervisor was on a. They were crafty a little too much. But I think that one is. The Departed is something different. I think
That's a good one. Well, now what about De Niro?
I think it's Taxi Driver.
I say
I think
Taxi
it's
Driver too.
Because here's the thing, Goodfellas. I said last week, one of my favorite movies of all time. Probably top 5. The more I've been thinking about it, probably closer to top 3.
Nice.
He doesn't really do a lot in that one. He just kind of stands there. He's mean, and I'm not saying he doesn't do a lot.
Yeah.
Right? He does a lot, obviously, but it's like, he stands there, looks cool, smoking a cigarette, and he just kind of, looks menacing.
Yeah.
And he beats people up. Same with Pesci, right? In that movie, at least. But Taxi Driver, it's like, whoa, De Niro's unhinged.
Honestly, Taxi Driver is the only film I've seen where De Niro feels like a different person.
Yeah.
Like he is actually like embodying another human being and not just. I don't recognize him acting out of character. I just see Travis Bickle. That's the only movie between the two of them where I feel that way.
It helps that it was so early in his career too.
He just
where
looks
you
different.
Just have it, yeah.
He has hair.
You have it. That's what I felt about when I was watching Godfather Part 2. When I was watching it, I was like, "Is that De Niro? What the hell?" And it turns out that was De Niro's first ever big movie,
That's
at
funny.
least. So it was funny that, just going to watch Taxi Driver, I think, and he hadn't had the stardom yet, and like just basically had him become a dick. So he kind of was more mellowed out. He was willing to go to that place to be Travis Bickle.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he's had the same level of... Because even in something like Irishman, where he's later in his career, and he's reuniting with Scorsese 20 years later, it's like, I still see you playing a real-life person.
Taxi Driver is the only one where it feels like there was a risk.
Yeah.
Like Scorsese was like, I'm taking a risk on this movie, you taking a risk on this role. So there's almost like a mutual trust between them. Like they're both trust falling into each other during that film. The whole movie is just unhinged anyway, so that helps. But nevertheless, that's definitely.
It was also in the era of, risky filmmaking, the new Hollywood era that we discussed. Don't watch that episode, by the way.
It's too old.
Just read our Wikipedia page. Or read the Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
So yeah, that level of collaboration was, and it's cool just to see that blossom. Just to see, it's like Coogler and Michael B. Jordan of our generation. Well, I don't know about of our generation, but hopefully of our generation.
Yeah.
Two wonderful. That's another great collaboration, at least in modern days.
We might end up getting Michael B. Jordan.
My favorite collaboration: Jon Favreau and Jon Favreau.
Yeah. Nevertheless, so Scorsese and De Niro. When it comes to, here's another idea. What about directors and actors who are married to each other? Because Tim Burton and Miss Bonham Carter
Miss Carter
came to mind right away, even before him and Johnny Depp.
That one's, I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
That one's a little.
I not a big fan of Tim Burton personally. Haven't seen too many of those movies myself.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, that's just.
But it is one of those that seems screams of another relationship where it's
they just get each other.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it helps that you live with the person and you understand what they're trying to do.
I was thinking about Johnny Depp. I was like, he lives with Johnny Depp?
Could you imagine? It's just the three of them just living together at all times. But aren't they divorced now or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe
Okay. So we're not going to see that too much more.
But
I mean, it's iconic. I'll say that much. Even if we don't personally, watch a lot of Tim Burton, there's a whole subspecies of moviegoers.
Yeah.
I say subspecies.
Subspecies.
I didn't mean to say it in a bad way. There's a whole demographic. There you go. Sorry. There's a whole demographic of people who are like, I mean, my sister included, grew up watching those movies, are in love with all of those movies. We'll watch them till the day they die as a movie goer. Um, so it's kind of cool, and I think that's another thing that's cool about these actor director combos is they end up becoming part of the pop culture, right?
Yeah, well, I feel like Tim Burton really had his day in the sun when he was working with those kind of the people who were really strong character actors. Because like, I wouldn't say that Johnny Depp is that good of a character actor right now, but you think back to like Edward Scissorhands, or
He was willing
even
to do
before
it.
that,
Yeah.
you look at like Tim Burton and Michael Keaton when they did Beetlejuice and Batman, where it's like, I think that's the good example of when Tim Burton is like, I make films with these kooky characters in them. I need actors who can do that. And once he just finds those people, he sticks with them. And I think I appreciate that. I like the Michael Keaton movies a little bit better out of Tim Burton, personally. But nevertheless, in terms of working with somebody who you're married to,
Big no. I
big
personally
no.
would never do that.
That's a big no. I mean, not that there aren't good examples of it.
Jesse Plemons and Kirsten Dunst.
Yep.
I think they've been in like 2 movies together.
They're actors. Did they direct one
Yeah.
another though?
Well, I'm just saying.
That's
just like,
true,
I'm
yeah.
just throwing relationships out
My
there.
dad mentioned Frances McDormand, and one of the she's married to one of the Coen brothers, and she starred in a
Right.
number of their movies. But there are also people where it's like they like characters,
Mhm.
and so their cast of like character actors, people who can just take somebody and run with it, and so they tend to have that small, like George Clooney is in a lot of their films as well, even Brad Pitt, and so it's like
Shout out Brad Pitt.
shout out
Or
Pitt.
don't shout out Brad Pitt.
Shout out John Goodman as well. But yeah, I don't think any aspiring director should aspire to work with their spouse at any point, because I've heard people say that it's good to live with somebody who understands the business.
But don't work with them.
But
I've heard that too. It's
yeah.
like, don't work on the same shows, more or less.
I'm more so thinking like you just get divorced. It's like you lose one of your cast members in any potential project.
Yeah.
All right. So what are some other big, or not just big, what's some personal favorites of yours?
Right off the bat, Philip Seymour Hoffman and
Paul
PTA.
Thomas Anderson. We both thought of that one.
Iconic. Another example of I'm just gonna write this funny character. Do your own thing with it.
What I like about that one is Philip Seymour Hoffman is always a supporting character.
Yes.
He is never the lead actor. And I think that that's something that Paul Thomas Anderson, I think, understands about Philip Seymour Hoffman, is that here's a guy who can just come on screen, kill it, and then just walk off screen.
He's like if you took. I'm gonna throw a basketball reference out there. It's like if you took Steph Curry and put him on the bench, and then brought him halfway through the second quarter and was like, "All right, you got 12 minutes. Do something.
Do your thing." Pretty much.
And he goes off for like 50 points.
Well, I think what a lot of people might not understand is you want that out of supporting actors.
Yes.
You want
Yeah.
somebody who can just almost like you don't have to think about. It's like
Those are the most
you're
iconic
gonna
ones.
get
Yeah.
And Philip Seymour Hoffman is somebody who
Because I mean, even think about him in non-PTA movies. Moneyball, we were watching last week. Every scene he's in, he's throwing 110 miles per hour.
yeah.
Well, I need a contract. And he's like just going back and forth with Brad Pitt, like it's a 12-round heavyweight.
Like they
boxing
have an
match.
actual relationship.
Yeah, and it's like it's perfect.
Mhm.
And PTA, to his credit, just was able to do that over X amount of years.
Yeah. I think that Philip Seymour Hoffman is one of those actors who understands a character. I've heard from directors that that's what they like about working with him, is that he's not so much a character actor, but he understands an individual character to a far greater depth than a lot of other actors. Rest in peace, Philip Seymour
Shout out.
Hoffman.
Rest
as
in peace.
well. He was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But Paul Thomas Anderson, also a fantastic director. I think what I've noticed too is that there aren't really bad combinations of directors and actors. Like,
No, because if they're bad, they don't stop. They just stop working.
yeah,
together.
but it's like when I think about a lot of these directors, these are people who are known for getting good performances out of basically anyone that they work
Yeah.
with. And so, and that's not just people who they work with frequently. I mean, it's no coincidence that Paul Thomas Anderson has one of the best Adam Sandler movies of all time
And
under
the best
him,
Mark Wahlberg.
and one of the best Mark Wahlberg movies of all time too. Yeah. So now, in terms of popular ones, almost unimpressive ones, I would say too. Tom Hanks and Spielberg.
That one's interesting because they came. It wasn't like a De Niro, Scorsese, or PTA and Seymour Hoffman. They came at the peak of their powers.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, hey, we're both young and oh, cool, we're friends now. Let's work for the next 30 years together. It's
like,
nah, we've been in this business for 30 years.
It's like, who's the
Hank's
best
a little bit
actor of
less.
all time?
Yeah.
Him. Who's the best working director of all time? Him. Make a movie.
Make a movie. Yeah. And then they just were like,
They
all right, let's keep going.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, it's not. They've produced an amazing amount of work.
Yeah.
They've produced some amazing work.
Correct.
Is what I should say.
Their best work being their first, which was Saving Private
Saving
Ryan.
Private Ryan.
But it's not. They don't make bad movies. I'll say that.
No, Spielberg
At least
doesn't
together,
make
right?
movies. Yeah.
Separately, it's a different story. We could litigate that all day.
Well, you almost brought up Zemeckis and Tom Hanks.
Yep.
And Ron Howard has also worked with Tom Hanks on a number of his disaster movies as well.
It was like the John Hughes, Molly Ringwald.
Molly Ringwald. That's another good collaboration as well, actually, now that you mentioned it.
Emilio Estevez. I guess Estevez was what, only two of them?
In my opinion, Tom Hanks is a good actor, but there is an incredibly commercial element to everything that he touches. That just isn't for me personally. I like weird stuff. I like out there stuff.
He's America's dad.
Yeah.
At this point, he's Hollywood's dad, which is
And-
why I like that Mr. Rogers movie. I was like, that's cool. They're making a Mr. Rogers movie.
Yeah.
Really wish it wasn't Tom Hanks. Because I feel like with Tom Hanks, you have to kind of play it because it's Tom Hanks, right? So you have to play it safe. I mean, when we watched Elvis, we were freaking out because we were like, how could they do this to Tom Hanks?
Put him in a fat suit. What are you guys doing?
So, there's a certain feel about, like you said, about Tom Hanks movies where they have to play it safe. Not that, you need to get experimental with a Mr. Rogers movie. But
Yeah.
I like difference. I like originality in my movies every once in a while.
Yeah, no, they're original. Big is original enough. But whether it's just because that's an era that I'm personally don't have any like connection to, not that I haven't seen those movies or don't like appreciate them. Like, I mean, when we're talking about Leonardo DiCaprio, I think that Catch Me If You Can is one of their best.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I like Saving Private Ryan, but I also really like that movie as well. So that I would also put Catch Me If You Can up there as well. I think that's another good one where they're both.
Because it's not Spielberg past his peak yet.
Yeah.
He's still got one more
still has it.
He's still got like one more MJ 98, Tim Duncan against the Thunder, Game 6.
Oh my God.
2016.
Maple
Or
Leafs
2015.
down 1-4, making a comeback.
Yeah.
That's funny. Now, are there any collaborations that you feel like don't really make much sense to you? Like there are
Interesting.
like because for me personally, there are some times where, and once again, shout out to my dad for bringing this up. But Richard Linklater and Ethan Hawke have worked together on a number of movies, more than I have.
Five,
more-
6 movies.
Yeah, more than I even realized. And it's one of those things where I don't know if I personally just don't think that Ethan Hawke is that good in these films, or if I just don't like Richard Linklater that much as a director. No offense to any fans of Dazed and Confused watching this. Admittedly, Richard Linklater movies really just aren't to my taste that
Sure.
much, but I've enjoyed movies that I've found enjoyment out of films from directors who I don't like, but the Before trilogy, they
Not
did
your cup of tea?
Boyhood as well. Not my thing,
Yeah.
personally.
That's fair.
I mean, but when I watched those movies or when I've seen them, I don't feel like Richard Linklater is really pulling anything out of Ethan Hawke.
Yeah.
Like, it's more so that Ethan Hawke seems to just like the idea of
Working
making
with him.
movies over time, and Richard Linklater loves doing that. But in the way that Scorsese would be able to write something that might challenge, Leonardo DiCaprio or De Niro, I don't feel like Richard Linklater is really challenging the actors who he's working with, at least Ethan Hawke in the movies he's put him in. I know that's like, I don't want to criticize without complimenting, but
No, that's fair.
that's one of those things where it's like, I feel like if you're going to work with an actor continually, you want to be able to
Improve.
not just improve, but maybe challenge yourself or them. Because I would think that something like Boyhood, where you're filming of making a movie over the course of like decades, it's like, well, you would think that you might approach, your understanding of character a little differently, or how you go from one scene to the next when one scene was filmed in 2005 and the next scene is filmed in 2007. But then you watch the movie and it's like, I don't feel like there was any real difference made. Even the strangest thing about talking about Boyhood too is that it's like you're watching Ethan Hawke at one point in his career at the beginning of the film, and then you're watching him at another point in his career at the end, because that film was shot over a period of multiple years.
Like 20 years, no?
Yeah.
Or something like that?
But even then, there's no difference in, like, there's no change in quality in, like, his line reading or his actual acting or anything like that.
Maybe that was the challenge.
Maybe that
just
was the
act
challenge.
the
is
same as you
keeping
did
it
back in
consistently.
1915.
I didn't think about that. You're right. These guys are geniuses.
We just don't know it.
We just didn't think about
We
it.
just didn't think about it that way. To be fair, though, that's never in your defense.
Mm-hmm.
That's not Linklater's specialty. It's not.
Yeah.
He's not a character writer. He writes funny characters and then is like, "All right, Matthew McConaughey, pretend to be a creep."
Yeah.
And it works,
And then he
obviously.
does it, yeah.
But he's not gonna be like, "All right, McConaughey, now what you have to think here is you have to sit here and just." He will never do that.
Yeah. What I was interested to see was that people like Stanley Kubrick, he worked with Kirk Douglas on a handful of films, but he didn't have too many other consistent actors he worked with outside of that I know of off the top of my head. And I think a lot of that is because he seems super concept focused over character focused. Anybody who's seen a Stanley Kubrick movie would know that all of his characters talk like cardboard. But it seems like he was approaching ideas individually.
Yeah.
And often cast from the ground up from that. I feel like maybe Richard Linklater is that same way, but because he just works with the same cast, it's like it doesn't feel like
Doesn't
you're
have the same
approaching it. Yeah.
He doesn't feel like he's doing anything new.
As a
per se.
new idea.
Yeah. Which is funny because that's how I felt about Nolan post probably The Dark Knight
Inception.
Rises.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like we're just seeing the same movie because we're seeing the same characters. It's just different things are happening on the screen.
In Nolan's case, because he tends to write the same type of character, you feel like you want to see a different approach to it every time. But if the nice old British gentleman is being played by Michael Caine every single time, you don't get it.
At what point do we start to realize that this is just the same?
This is
it's
just-
all one universe.
Yeah, Michael Caine is gonna have a role in Oppenheimer where Cillian Murphy is gonna go, Michael Caine, what are you doing here?
Michael Caine is the one who drops the fat man.
Watch him play like totally like he's gonna be like MacArthur or something.
Yeah.
Totally just like off role for him.
Still in British accent, even though MacArthur had like a very, very distinct
Yeah.
dialect.
But nevertheless, that's definitely, I think, to Christopher Nolan's discredit is
Yeah.
something he hasn't done
I
too
would
well
agree.
of.
That's my one thing post everything Dark Knight. Is like, come on, give me something good. Give me something not good.
Yeah.
Because they're good movies. It's just like,
Mm-hmm.
I want that. Where's that originality pre-inception?
I just thought of a point, something interesting. I just know this, plucked this out of my brain right now.
Ooh.
When Tim Burton made the Batman film, he worked with Michael. You don't have to turn the volume up. I'm speaking quietly. When he made the Batman movie, he had worked with Michael Keaton on Beetlejuice beforehand.
Correct.
And I had theorized that the reason why he chose Michael Caine for Batman was because Tim
Michael
Burton. That's right, not Mike.
Sorry.
Too many why he chose Michael Keaton for the Batman role, I theorized, was because Tim Burton understood that Batman is a character like Beetlejuice, just a weird freak. And so having an actor who can embody this weirdness, he knew that would work for Batman and Bruce Wayne, irregardless of how serious he was going to play that role. Christopher Nolan did the same thing. Worked with Christian Bale on The Prestige, and then went and made Batman Begins.
Other way around.
Other way around.
Yeah.
So
It was Batman, Prestige, Dark Knight, Inception, Dark Knight Rises.
for some reason, I thought that he made all of them in order. No. But he had worked with him on Batman Begins first. Was that their first collaboration? I think so.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why hasn't he worked with
Right?
him
know.
since? Because I think what he understood is that, like, obviously Christian Bale is a character actor. He'll wear the fat suit. He'll lose the weight. He'll grow the hair. He'll do anything for a role.
Literally anything.
Literally anything for a role. And so I think that there was an extent where you're casting for a role like Batman, you want somebody who will, I mean, throughout the course of that film, he grows a beard, he gets in shape, he gets beat up, eventually he breaks his back. But it's like you want somebody who can have that level of physicality in their performance, and I think that that's what Christopher Nolan understood about the Batman character.
It commands a presence, too.
And commands a presence.
Even when he's not saying a single word.
Yeah. And then when it comes to their collaboration in The Prestige, in that movie, it almost feels like he almost strips that away from Christian Bale and is like, all right, now you're just a mastermind. You're just playing games and tricking this other guy. There's not much physicality to that performance, like, at all.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of, like, I was going to make this really cool point about how there was a connection between those two, but even still, I think that Christopher Nolan's ability to be like, not only is it something who I like working with, but I can find ways that we can do something new and different with your ability.
Because I was still relatively young in Bale's career. I was like, I don't want to say career, but like the beginning of when he would blow up, right?
With The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Everything starts with Dark
All
Knight.
roads lead back to that. But yeah, it was Begins and then The Prestige.
Okay, that's good. Of course, you would know the timeline on that.
Just had to double check.
Trust but verify.
But I mean, you could say the same thing almost for Coogler and Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
Fruitvale Station to, was it Creed first? Yeah, Creed was first, and then
they did
Black Panther.
Mm-hmm.
We're just that level of growth and seeing, this actor do things that you didn't think were even possible. Just be like, all right, now let me make you into a boxer.
Yeah. Well, it also helps too that I'm sure it's like there's the physicality of that role. Literally, far more physical.
No, they're on steroids.
Whether they're natty or not does not matter. What matters is that he's beating people up. and then he goes to another movie where he beats more people up.
Okay, yeah, sure.
It's like there's that understanding of like I can direct action and you understand how I direct action.
Yeah.
So I make another action movie, I'm going to call on you.
Yeah.
Again, I think that's where a lot of their connection lied in that regard. Now, this will be kind of my final question since I'm curious. Are there any actors or directors who have worked with actors that you want to see continue working together?
Oh, that was
in
going
the
to be my
future?
question to
Yeah.
you. Damn, good, nice. I'm glad we had the same question. I've been thinking about this one.
Well, that's good because I just thought of the question on the spot.
Fincher and Gyllenhaal need to get back together.
They did Zodiac.
Correct.
And then they
Give
did...
me one more. That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
That's what I'm saying. Give me one more. Because now we can see what Gyllenhaal is capable of in the depths that he's willing. I mean, he's is literally malnourishing himself in Nightcrawler. So it's like, okay, so we know the guy's a little off. He's a little off. Right?
He's basically what I feel like you would take if you took somebody like Leonardo DiCaprio and he just did slightly more indie, slightly weirder movies.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't think
darker.
that because I feel like Jake Gyllenhaal movies don't seem to really match his like celebrity reputation.
Yeah, the dude's like a goofball. He's playing like the whole. It was funny because it felt him on that Spider-Man tour or like the press tour was like him having fun.
Yeah.
like I don't know, like it's like a little puppy being let out after a 15-hour car ride. They just go crazy.
I'm thinking where it's like, oh, here's Jake Gyllenhaal on Ellen DeGeneres. And it's like, what movie could he be advertising? Not Nightcrawler, not Enemy, not Donnie Darko.
You're like having to find like, oh, Jake, you just you're on a magazine cover for GQ. It's like, yeah, I'm on a magazine cover. Meanwhile, he has like 5 movies that just came out in the past 2 years.
And I'm like, are you here for Prisoners? I don't think that's the target audience for this, actually.
But yeah, that's the one I think I want to see the most. Just because, what other pervasive actor it pairs well with the most, perverse actor or director of this generation.
That's understandable. I want to see, unironically, Justin Timberlake and David Fincher again.
That's a good one, too.
The fact that every single time a singer tries to have an acting career, it doesn't always go that well. Doesn't seem, at least pop singers.
Right.
And yet he got the only good Justin Timberlake performance in the movie that you're ever going to get.
Yeah, who's the best pop singer turned actor? Selena Gomez?
She was probably an actor first, I would say.
It's like,
That's true.
they go back and forth.
She does both. I don't know. I'd have to think about that a little bit. Stay tuned next week when we discuss.
Selena Gomez. I'm down. I'm so down. I'm so down. Okay, let's just put it like this. David Fincher and any obscure pop artist. Taylor Swift, you have a role.
I think he could get a performance out of anybody
I think
that
so
was
too.
willing to put up with it. That was something else I was thinking about while I was coming up with this list, where it came to directors who, like, how they, because obviously there are casting departments, but when directors, the times where directors have a choice in who they're casting in their films, I've thought about how I've heard that, like, David Fincher, for example, will like make his cast do personality tests, and he's like, based off of whatever your result is, I might know whether I can work with you or not. Yeah, and it's like that's kind of
it's a little weird, but it's a little interesting.
Well, it's one of those things where it feels more like just I want to make sure that you can put up with that I can put up with you, or that you're going to put up with me.
Sure.
And it's like if you're David Fincher and you're going to shoot 70 takes of one line of dialogue, you want an actor who isn't going to... Yeah.
Well, that was the thing that I think everybody was praising Jesse Eisenberg when they did that beginning, Rooney Mara and Jesse Eisenberg, that scene. It was like, he did 80-something takes of that scene, and both of them were like, okay, see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, man. You try and make, I don't know, who much, like...
Wasn't there a quote from Robert Downey Jr. where he was like, David Fincher and I get along because we both understand gulags.
Yeah, I mean, you try and make. I'm trying to think of an actor. Like, just give me like a popular actor. Just think of any popular actor.
Tom Hanks.
Try and make them do 80 takes of something.
Yeah.
Someone's getting stabbed.
Yeah.
May not be the director, but it might be the crafty assistant who's bringing around
Yeah,
the water,
that's
the
fair.
water cooler.
So I think to a certain extent, when a director is looking for an actor who they like to work with or can collaborate with, there's a sense of like when we're not just the concept behind what we're filming, or if you understand the characters in the script, but literally being on set together.
Mm-hmm.
Is there chemistry or a relationship or something that we can like, connect with there?
Yeah. Yeah, because that matters. When you're in the trenches working 12, 14, 16 hours a day, you're up at 4 in the morning. You're there till 4 in the morning, shooting night shoots. Like, that matters.
It's a different kind of trust.
Just being like, yo, we're in the deep end together. It is what it is. Let's just make this movie. Let's make this TV show. Let's make it happen. And that's the thing that's always cool about like TV specifically is like you just read all these stories about how the cast goes out for bowling or like they go do this, they go do that. It's like that's to me anyways, that's cool. It's like that enhances my viewing experience when the people who are making the stuff actually get along.
Yeah. I want to give a quick shout out. Dad, if you're watching this, you wrote this on my list, but you wrote Werner Herzog and Klaus Kinski, and probably the only relationship of long-term collaborators where one has pulled a gun on the other one out of anger and frustration.
When was that?
So, what movie was that? I think that was the one where they had to pull a boat up a hill, but I don't remember what it's called. But yeah, they were in bold, crazy relationship, and it's like, yep, that's not one for. That's nothing to be replicated right there.
Do you think it's more impressive when a director does a Stanley Kubrick and it's just like new cast,
Yes.
new movie, everything?
Yes.
Or is it like I'm gonna have one or two actors that I work with my entire career? Not every movie, but like most of them, and they make good movies.
It's more impressive when they hit the reset button every time, but I don't mind seeing Philip Seymour Hoffman, pop up and
It's like a
Paul
prize,
Thomas Anderson.
right?
Yeah,
Like we freaked out when John C. Reilly was on Licorice Pizza,
yeah, that's true.
and we both
Like,
knew.
how did we not see this coming?
We both knew he was in it prior to watching it. We were like, "Oh, he's got another role."
Yeah.
But then it was like, "Oh, that's his role. That's
Yeah.
awesome."
That's it's like that pretty much. But it's definitely, I think, more impressive when a filmmaker is willing to, just start over on everything every time. Especially because, to a certain extent, people who have like careers over a long period of time, sometimes it's weird when they suddenly make a film without somebody who they've made a movie with for a very long time, and it's kind of like, what happened? Like I'm instinctually like, what happened behind the
Did they
scenes?
die?
Yeah, did they have a falling out of some kind? Like what's going on, guys?
Yeah.
But nevertheless, yeah. I asked the question, I didn't answer it. I think in terms of current directors and actors who I would like to see collaborate even more, I agree with Jake Gyllenhaal and David Fincher. I think that's a good one. That's tough to say, though.
There's a lot of
because
actors, there's a lot of
a lot of actors, and there are a lot of directors. But I'm thinking
Yeah.
in terms of like, I almost want to say Steve McQueen and Michael Fassbender again.
Oh no! Give me something real. Give me something real. An actor-director combo that has worked once or twice together that needs to keep going. I'll say no more than 2 times.
No more than 2 times. That's a good one. I'm trying to think. What? You know who I would like to see? I think that Robert Pattinson has worked. He's done a lot of great indie movies, and he's worked with a lot of good directors.
Mm-hmm.
I think I like Good Time personally a little bit more than I do Uncut Gems.
That's the
That's Safdie Brothers. That was again one of those movies where I'm like, that's just a guy. That's not Robert Pattinson right there. So I think I would like to see. That's another combination where it's like Robert Pattinson just likes weird movies, and Safdie Brothers make weird movies.
Robert Pattinson, Robert Eggers.
Yeah, that's they did
The Lighthouse.
The Lighthouse.
Yeah.
That's another one where.
Don't like that movie. Oh, I don't at least.
Yeah, that's understandable, but I definitely feel like there's something there about
That relationship.
their relationship that they might be able to. I mean, William Dafoe was in The Northman as well, so
Yes.
we might see it further on
William
down the line.
Dafoe.
Yeah,
Robert.
he's worked with Anya Taylor-Joy as well in all of his films, except for The Lighthouse. She was in The Witch.
She was in. Was she in The Witch?
And she was in
that's
Northman.
right. Yeah, that's
Yep.
the one that made her big. Yeah.
Yeah, so he clearly also likes her as well. Let's see. Bruce Willis and M. Night Shyamalan.
Next.
M. Night Shyamalan and Will
Oh
Smith.
God. M. Night Shyamalan and Jaden Smith.
Ooh, yeah. When are we going to get another Jaden Smith movie? huh?
Hopefully never.
You know what? I would like to see. Well, I guess it's kind of something that they've already worked with. I think that would probably be my choice. Would be Robert Eggers and Robert Pattinson. I think that I would like to see them do, especially because I was really disappointed when Ari Aster's new movie Beau is Afraid. It's not a horror movie.
Yeah.
And I'm
so I've
like,
heard.
you are the horror movie guy.
I heard that movie is the like prime example of men would rather do X than
Go to therapy.
I was reading the Reddit review and that was a top comment. I was like, that's funny. I personally have never seen it, but that's funny.
I like these weird horror movies that we've been getting out of these guys, and I feel like Northman is at least somewhat in line with the previous stuff Robert Eggers would do, and I would like to see more from him. I feel like if he keeps the same cast of people who just love weird stuff like he does, I think that we would get something pretty good out of him, personally, But honestly, I'm pulling the blank outside of that. I can't really think
All right,
of...
I'll give you a director.
Okay.
You give me an actor.
Okay.
Paul Greengrass.
Paul Greengrass, he worked with Matt Damon.
He worked with Matt Damon a lot.
Yes, a lot.
But who was somebody that you would pair with Paul Greengrass?
Ooh, an actor
Yeah,
I would
that's what I'm
pair
saying. Yeah,
with
yeah,
Paul
yeah.
Greengrass.
You're more in tune with Paul Greengrass
Yeah.
movies than I am.
I want to say somebody who you don't think would do a good job, but who I think would. And I honestly think somebody from the Marvel world. I think he would pair really well with somebody like Thor, Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth?
Yeah. I feel like he
Chris Hemsworth's
has
a pretty good actor.
some untapped action potential
Yeah.
in him. And I feel like
Well, I don't know if it's untapped. Netflix has made like 5 movies with him.
that's true, actually. Yeah, and he did Unstoppable too
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Tony Scott. Untapped, the kind of movie that Paul Greengrass is kind of going away from his usual style that he's worked with in the past. At least he's made 2 movies with Tom Hanks now. He made News Around the World and he did Captain Phillips. News Around the World kind of moves away from what he's done previously, but movies like United 93 or Captain Phillips or even Green Zone, which was a one-off Matt Damon movie he made. I feel like Chris Hemsworth might fit has the potential to fit nicely into one of those kind of things. It's a kind of action movie that takes itself a bit more seriously than the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah. It's like
So
real
it would be
world
interested-
stuff.
yeah.
They don't make jokes every 2 seconds.
I'd be interested to see him in something like that.
Okay.
Are you gonna
Interesting.
pull up another director?
No,
or-
I'm just.
Oh, okay.
I was looking through the
Oh, okay.
just like list of film director and actors.
That's understandable. Honestly, I think of directors working today, there are the Daniels who they hit it big with Everything Everywhere All at Once. Amazing cast across the board. If they worked again with any one of those
I
actors,
feel like they would be really well with the daughter.
yeah, Stephanie.
I'm not even gonna try and pronounce her last
I'm
name.
sorry.
It's
Nevertheless,
It's HSU.
Nevertheless.
we know that.
As she was the emerging star from that movie. I think
for sure.
that'd be really interesting to see where that goes. I also kind of like
Brendan Fraser and Darren Aronofsky.
That's true. Yeah,
They brought him back.
that's true. Oh, Darren Aronofsky is a good one. I would love to see him. He did such a good job with The Wrestler, which was Mickey Rourke.
Yes.
And it's like, that's a guy who it's like,
You wouldn't think he'd do a good job.
you wouldn't think that he would do a good job, and he did. It's almost like you could bring back Mickey Rourke or somebody in that kind of legacy role, like almost Val Kilmer kind of style, where it's like,
An elder statesman.
just one for the show, just one for the road kind of thing, where it's like you're the, I almost feel like that's kind of like what he did with Brendan Fraser to an extent, where it's like, but nevertheless, that's somebody who I think makes weird kind of cool movies, and I like to see when somebody is really goes against their type but plays it well. Like Adam Sandler in Uncut Gems is not Adam Sandler that you've seen really before.
I'll give you one.
Yeah.
Chris Evans and why did I just forget his name?
What was the movie?
Scott Pilgrim.
Yes, that's correct.
What is the name?
Edgar Wright.
What is this? Edgar Wright. Thank you. I don't know. I'm looking at it right here in front of me, or not in front of me, but I'm looking at Chris Evans' name in front of me. Yeah, Chris Evans and Edgar Wright would be a good one. I feel like Chris Evans would be really well in the physical humor type.
Yeah, he should do more comedies.
Yeah.
Is what he should do.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, stop doing action movies with Ana de Armas. I mean, I respect the grind,
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
obviously
Just-
Ana de Armas, but, for us, do some more comedies. Because he's pretty funny,
Yeah.
especially in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he would do well with that type of humor that Edgar Wright likes to write.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
The Simon Pegg, Nick Frost.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are their names. Yeah.
I think Adam Sandler would be really interesting to see in one of those films.
But could Adam Sandler not do Adam Sandler
That's-
comedy? Is the problem
I feel like Edgar Wright would be able to
to corral that?
corral that,
Maybe
or to write into it.
that too.
Mm-hmm. That's what I think. I feel like Edgar Wright is Wes Anderson if he
With actual substance.
with less style.
Less style, more
in terms of
substance.
the yeah, with no aesthetic.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
That's my hot take.
I agree.
All right, we're rambling at this point.
Cool.
We've gone off topic from
we're out of here
director
because we have to
actor
watch a bunch of hockey and football and all that nonsense. So, basketball. So, we're out of here. We'll see you guys next week, probably, maybe. I don't know. We'll find out.
Go Leafs.
Till then.